what they decided for me.
Okay. We never know. Sometimes
I know you
5,
know.
sometimes
I know.
1,000.
Anything I can help you, please let me know. You know I'm always here for it. All right? Thank you very much. Did you like that?
They've got 3 minutes.
Tripod? You don't want to make it? Did you like that?
I know, like when I eat cows, I'm just coming here. They can cow, I think it's cow.
Now we've been told, oh, the Justice Department is investigating. Well, let's look at the facts. Since the beginning of this year, over 700 people have been murdered, been killed by the police in this country. Over 100 of them, 150 of them unarmed. 1,000 people are killed every year by the police. Going back 10 years, less than 60 indictments, less than 25 convictions. Don't come to us talking about the Justice Department when under Obama and Eric Holder and now Lynch, not a single cop has been indicted for murdering a black or Latino person in this country. But worse than that, the whole world knew that Michael Brown was murdered, and the authorities in Ferguson refused to indict them, to indict Darren Wilson. And people rose up, and it was beautiful. Let's be clear, we owe a tremendous amount to those youth in Ferguson.
Yeah.
But what did the Justice Department say? Let me read from you what the Justice Department said after the investigation of the murder of Michael Brown. There is no evidence upon which prosecutors can rely to disprove Wilson's subjective belief that he feared for his safety, unquote. Now, first of all, it's an outrage that he wasn't indicted. But more than that, Eric Holder, the black attorney general of this country, what is he saying? He is telling every cop in this country how he or she can get away with murdering someone. All they have to do is say they had a subjective fear that their safety was in danger, and they got a green light.
I've been out here on the streets protesting and rallying for the last 21 years for justice for my son, 13-year-old honor student Nicholas Jr., who was murdered by the NYPD September 27, 1994. To be out on the streets for such a long time demanding justice for those who never give any justice, and I'm talking about this government, this elected officials, city officials, all the pleas that I have made over the last 20 years to these people, to the government, has fell on deaf ears, despite the fact of all the evidence that I had that can convict the officer who murdered my son. We have a new DA in Brooklyn. His name is Ken Thompson. I campaigned for Ken Thompson. He made certain promises to me that once he got into office, he would look into my son's case. There was a cover-up in the case of Nicholas Jr., just like there's a cover-up in every single case of innocent people who are murdered by the NYPD and by police in general. Am I sick of making these pleas? Yes, I am. My pleas today are to the people. It's to you. We need to organize ourselves. We need to stick together in unity to put an end, a permanent end, to police murder of innocent, unarmed human beings. This is happening worldwide. Never any justice, never. I can't tell you one single case where there was any not even a bit of justice in that case. For these officers to never be held accountable despite the evidence that is can be held against them, including videotapes. Still no justice. But yet, they want to try to make us believe that if we put the videotapes on the police, then maybe we may get some justice. We don't need cameras on the cops. We need cameras in your hands. Cameras on the police ain't going to matter because they'll shut them off when they're ready to brutalize and murder you. And like I said, this is happening nationwide. What happened to Mike Brown should have never happened. In fact, none of these lives right here should have been lost to police murder.
That's right.
But yet they have. And yet we do not get any justice in these cases. October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, we are having a national protest and uprising in New York City, where everyone here needs to be there. We can no longer rely on elected officials or this government to give justice to the innocent, unarmed, and to all of us, because we never know who will be next.
There is a fight going on throughout society right now of how are we going to remember what happened in Ferguson. There is a fight going on right now about whether to uphold the fact that the youth took to the streets, stood up and said, no, not this time, we're not going to take this anymore, and we don't give a fuck about a few gas stations or a few CVS's. The lives of people being murdered every single day in this country count for way more than a few broken windows. That is the fight that is going on. And that is what the people here need to understand about what part of the fight you're on. And in October, that line needs to be drawn everywhere in society. Which side are you on? Are you going to be part of the people who would defend this? Who say, oh, but it's more scary to see people rising up than to see this ended? Are you going to be on the side of the people who are fighting and putting everything on the line to actually put an end to this so that never again do we have to hold rallies and talk about the stolen lives of generations after generations of people here and all around the world?
Yeah, right.
Bev and I just returned from a week-long stint in jail in Syracuse, New York, protesting the banning of drones from Syracuse. I have to say, as I look at all of you, I'm really glad you're here, and I'm really glad you're angry. I find, at least at my age, that I don't feel the same kind of anger. I was active in the civil rights movement in the 60s. I was in jail in Mississippi in the 60s. And I feel a deep sadness that we're still here for the same old shit. So thank you all for coming, and stay in the streets.
Give it up for the Granny Peace Brigade.
My name is Bev Rice. I'm also with the Veterans for Peace. And for 7.5 seconds on a road that goes into the gate, a public road, Joan and I spent what was supposed to be 3 weeks. Thank goodness it only turned out to be a week. But what I wanted to say is juries. What happens upstate New York with all of those Republicans? We had two black women and one black man in the pool. And the black man was asked, would you believe what a policeman testifies to? And he kind of thought about it. And he said, I would like to see if there's other people aside from him that agree on the same story. He also said, they asked, did you have any trouble with the police? And he talked about a violation that landed up to be much more than it should be. Well, of course, he was not chosen for our jury. But the gentleman that was chosen, when asked, have you ever heard of Snowden, said he should be taken out and shot. But he was on our jury. So that's how it is upstate New York. And all of these things can be connected. Every solid thing can be connected. And thank you.
The Granny Peace Brigade.
I represent OccuEvolve, which is part of the Occupy Wall Street movement. And we recognize that the police are the first line of defense for the 1%. And we recognize that whether it's mass incarceration, whether it's the outright murder of our people, whether it's gentrification and the cops coming in to escort you out of your own community, or whether it's us not having enough money to pay our rent because the rent is too damn high and the wages are too damn low, the first people that come in to get us, to block us, to barricade us off are the police. And we need to be very, very clear of that. Not only in Ferguson, not only in Staten Island, but right here in Manhattan. As you look all around you, you see all of this underdevelopment of the city. At the end of the day, we have to start questioning that. And we also need to be a part of a movement that promotes mass incarceration. But mass incarceration of the bankers, mass incarceration of Wall Street, mass incarceration of the NYPD. That's the incarceration that needs to be going on.